Within the world of Chainsaw Man there are or rather were 4 devils which represented an alternative to death when your life ends. Each of these devils was only briefly mentioned by Makima as a group of devils which were consumed by the chainsaw during one of his previous battles before he was defeated, or however it is he ended up in the human world for Denji to pick up. It intrigues me to think that once upon a time, alternatives to death existed, and yet now, with exception to Makima and potentially several other high-tier devils, no one actually remembers them. This has the potential side effect of also erasing those who were under the effect of these unlives as they might have been. So not only could the erasure of these devils cause a significant change in both history and religious beliefs, but also seen the disappearance of a significant number of people, either shunting them to just being actually dead or erasing them altogether. We know that devils who have had their name consumed can still exist, however this seems to be an exception for weapon devils and not humans, as we know that the Nazi Party was erased from history, and they were humans. The potential far-reaching ramifications of this are not to be understated. They may in fact be the most influential devils ever consumed by the Chainsaw Devil, with respect to the development of humans, animals, and devil kind as a whole. The only other devils mentioned in the series thus far with potentially equal or greater influence would be Makima herself, the primal devil Darkness, who is still a mostly unknown force existing within Hell, the Cosmos Devil, who might be the second greatest threat if consumed depending upon your interpretation, and the Hell Devil itself, who might very well be the most influential devil on a metaphysical level. Now that I have that little bit of backstory out of the way justifying their importance to how the world of Chainsaw Man currently exists, I can move on to what I actually believe these devils might have actually been. But first, a quick reminder that there are still devils which present an alternative to death that still exist, namely the zombie devil, who creates undead and was the first major antagonist of the series. One of the more traditional alternatives to death which appears in a lot of folklore and scary stories is the ghost, the phantom or the spectre, a being which is the embodiment of a departed spirit, sometimes malicious, sometimes tormented. But none of these have appeared to date in the series, nor have they been brought up as existing to my remembrance. This to me points that this could be one of those devils which has been eliminated by the chainsaw, as ghosts in our own world are a supernatural fear which many people especially at a young age believe in, so I find it hard to believe that such a powerful devil would not be mentioned at some point. What this devil would look like would depend upon the interpretation that the author has of what this devil is. It could appear as a semi-transparent humanoid, or it could look different depending upon who gazes upon it, maybe as a recently departed loved one, only grotesquely bloody and rotting. Or it could comedically look like a floating white sheet with glowing eyes. As for what power this devil might possess, it may be partially or fully intangible, making it resistant or immune to physical harm. It might also possess the ability to pull out or remove the spirits of others by pulling them free from their bodies, either killing them or perhaps turning them into ghosts themselves, which may or may not be under their command. This would certainly make them an enemy to be feared, as they would be able to kill humans without having to overcome any physical barrier or resistance they might have, such as devil hunters or fiends. The influence this devil would have on human history is significant as with all of these devils, because if ghosts were in fact real, there could have been entire communities made up of them, there could have been entire countries made up of ghosts, or people might have actively gone out of their way to become a ghost because they were afraid of death. With this devil disappearing, all those ghosts would have had to disappear as well, which, depending on the number of them, and their disposition, could have seen master retcons to all of human history to fit in with this new ghostless world. For instance, on a small scale, say a ghost haunts a house and because of it no one lives there, but suddenly there was never a ghost living there. Now that house has had many new families living in it throughout time, new people being born, being raised and changing history in their own way. A single ghost gone and suddenly an infinite number of possible changes are made by it. Now imagine that times 100 or 1,000 depending on how many ghosts actually existed. If the ghosts were always malicious, Filled with regret and rage, this could have resulted in the ghost devil being one of the most powerful devils in history due to its ability to create or represent a terrifying force of undying specters who you can't fight and maybe can't get rid of at all. If they were really, then the current world of Chainsaw Man is very lucky they aren't around anymore. A devil, which represents the fear of reincarnation, of becoming something new after you die, of being reborn. You might think that reincarnation still exists in Chainsaw Man with how the devils continue to resurrect in hell after they die, but I am of the belief that they don't really die when they are killed on earth or in hell, but rather death isn't a concept which truly exists for devils in the same manner as it does for humans and other living things native to what I call the mortal world. Outside of this, even when a devil reappears in hell, they are still the same devil. They do not turn into a different devil, they simply lack their memories for reasons yet unknown. Also, the way in which Makima speaks about it, she seems to be referring to the alternative to death for humans, not devils. So, I believe that reincarnation is definitely a possibility for what one of those four devils might have been. What this devil might have looked like is interesting, as we know that devils have true forms, but this devil might have the ability to change its true form every time it is killed, developing new abilities each time it is killed, and it may have been one of the few devil which had the ability to retain memories from its previous lives after being killed due to the reincarnation. This could also mean that those humans who underwent resurrection might have continued to have their memories of their previous lives as well. The effect this might have had on human history isn't to be underestimated. Having the amassed knowledge of several generations inside your head from the moment you're born would certainly give you an advantage in terms of mental statistics, but it could also have resulted in the development of multiple personalities or even insanity, as you would have to come to terms with the fact that your old life is gone but you still remember it, for instance being reborn into the body of a baby while your spouse still lives. It would cause some awkward situations for sure, and would certainly cause people to fear the idea of it. Even more so if you could be reincarnated into a form other than a human, perhaps a pig or some other animal which is used for humans to eat. Imagine having the memories and knowledge of being a human but being stuck in the body of a pig, unable to communicate and sentenced to living your life just to be consumed by the humans you once were. A very scary thing to consider, especially if the devil itself had the ability to determine what form you would be reborn into, making any target of their wrath a very unfortunate individual who might take actual death over having their next life be at the mercy of a malicious devil. This devil might have even sparked fear into the hearts of other devils, for it might have had the ability to alter their true forms into something else, making them less able to cause fear in the human population, which of course would weaken any devil. By how much is unknown, but as we saw with Denji, when Makima set him up as a hero, he lost a significant amount of strength. But if you were to make a contract with this devil, what would you ask to be reborn as? Resurrection, the revival from death in your still existing body, or having your body reconstructed for you. Again, you might consider resurrection to already be possible given what we saw with Denji near the beginning of the series and others throughout the rest of the series. However, I would disagree and say that neither Denji nor any of those returning characters ever truly died. They might have been brought to the brink of death, but they did not actually die. And again, I feel that devils can truly die, so what happens with them isn't really resurrection, even if it appears as if that is what happens. But why would this devil be feared? Sure, it comes back from the dead almost instantly when killed, but that alone would not make it a credible threat, so instead I suggest that this devil, in order to resurrect itself, required the taking of lives, the drawing in of life force into its otherwise lifeless body, killing all those around it to fuel it. And if this was to happen every time a person resurrected, it would certainly be a cause for concern. No one would ever want to be near a dying person for fear that they might steal their life in exchange for them living. This could have resulted in a vastly different human history, one with far less killing going on for fear that they might die instead of the intended target as a result of this backlash. As for how this devil might have appeared, It could have appeared like a phoenix, or it could have been a simple human shape. It wouldn't really matter all that much due to the fact that its representation doesn't have a standardized form for all cultures. However, with a devil like this running around, people might also have felt freer to take risks, to do things without considering the long-term consequences. If there wasn't such a drastic price for the resurrection, then people might have never developed safety features for a great many things we take for granted today, because they simply had no reason to, because people could just revive. Depending on the situation, there could have even been people put on death's row to be used as sacrifices for the resurrection of a single person, which would have resulted in a much more malicious and cultish style worship of this devil. If you could be resurrected at the cost of others' lives, would you take it? How many people do you think would take it? Especially in a world like the one presented to us in Chainsaw Man, one which was most likely noticeable more terrifying and threatening when this devil was still around. This devil might very well be the simplest one on the entire list, a devil which represents immortality, the inability to die by any means. At first this devil might not seem as scary as other devils, but immortality does not equal invulnerability. You could end up stuck living with every single disease and illness on earth but just unable to die. You would be stuck in an eternal hell that you can never escape from, no matter how hard you try. A devil like this could be one of the most malicious and cruel of all devil kind, giving you what you think you want only to result in you being cursed for eternity. I could imagine this devil looking like an old, frail individual who, when you make a deal with them, steals your youth to become young and leave you as a rotting bag of bones forever trapped in your rotting flesh. Imagine still being conscious and alive even when your body has begun to crumble and return to the earth. I cannot imagine a more horrifying experience if I tried. The fact that this devil could not be killed and that just by existing it was causing an endless amount of suffering would certainly result in this devil being one of the most powerful, at least in terms of fear that it would generate. As for how a society would function with immortals, well, I can imagine a lot of research being put into anti-aging technology to make certain that these ever-aging individuals don't turn into dust. I could also see overpopulation becoming a serious problem. If people stopped dying, then they would quickly run out of space to keep them all on its surface. With the disappearance of this devil, I could see all this technology being erased, because need drives development. Without the need, the technological advancement slows down significantly. This could have resulted in technology being pushed back decades if not centuries. This could have drastic changes on how people live their lives and have resulted in significant changes to the world's overall population. It could also change how people think about death. With immortality no longer existing, then there is more of a reason to fear death because they no longer have the fear of anything else. Same with all these other fears. This devil might have been considered weak by the rest of its kin due to the fact that devils don't have a natural concept of death, and thus immortality is also something which is meaningless to them, because to live forever you must be alive. However, there is very little doubt in my mind that this devil, out of all the ones spoke of in this video today, would have instilled the most amount of fear in the population, because even in our world people fear aging, of their bodies failing them. But imagine if you would be stuck like that forever, with no release, constantly stuck watching as you slowly but surely rot away. Could you deal with that? Would anyone choose such a miserable existence? Well, that is the end of this video. I do hope you enjoyed my thoughts on what the 4 alternatives to death that Makima mentioned in her speech on the devils the chainsaw has consumed are. If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to leave a like. If you want to keep up to date when I post a video, don't forget to subscribe. And if you have your own thoughts on this matter as well as want me to make more videos on Chainsaw Man, tell me so in the comments. I have been the Anonymous Weeb, and I wish you a good day or night wherever you are.